Hi everyone, and welcome back to the fantasyfootballfixed.com YouTube channel with me, Tom Cam. You can find me on X at UtterlyTC, and we've got Mark Mansfield back for another Elite Team Reveal video ahead, guys, of Game Week 3. And Mark's already having another kick-ass season. It's no surprise to me. I'm sure it'll be no surprise to you either. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. Guys, welcome back to the channel, and Mark, welcome back to the first video for you and the actual season. We've got through pre-season, and look at this, mate. You're already into that top 200k cruising. Teach us your ways, mate. You've got to be buzzing with that start.
Yeah, hi Tom, hi everybody. Yeah, really pleased with that. It's solid. Sometimes you have a good week one, and then your team is overfit to that game week one set of fixtures, and your game week two brings you back a bit. But I've had a good week again. I think 177,000 the
That's
last
right.
time I checked.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so far so good. 180 into the season gone, so I won't count any chickens or anything like that.
No chickens to be counted just yet, but it's got to feel awesome to get off to a good start. Mark, you and I were talking off camera. Do you think this is one of your best ever starts after, admittedly only 2 game weeks? Can you recollect a time when you've surged to this sort of overall rank after 2 game weeks?
Yeah, I normally take some screen caps of my rank, the ranks how it went during the season. I normally take them at the end of the season. I just found three there while I was talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And after game week two, 390,000, 690,000, and 360. So yeah, this is probably better than average.
Definitely.
Normally my rank kind of in a given season could start out around here or a little bit worse, and then I kind of deteriorate slowly until I panic into doing my wild card and then pick up from there. But I've said it before on previous seasons on here, I'm looking for 100,000 around the turn of the year.
Yeah, you have told us
Um,
that, yeah.
yeah, I think I'm not sure how that's going to be this season because there's not going to be the same scope for massive rank changes if we don't have the big double game weeks this season due to the FA Cup. So maybe you need to be in a better position at Christmas
Yeah,
this year.
that's cool. I was going to ask you around, should we be paying any attention to overall rank at this stage of the season, Mark? And you can speak from a position of strength now and in your top 178k right now. Is it something that we should be worried about for those folks who haven't made such a good start?
I wouldn't get too bent out of shape, if you've started badly, there's a long way to go. Um, I know some people like to play without looking at rank, but um, it's a reasonably good signal
Mm,
as to whether you're tuned into the season or not.
yeah.
Maybe you're just having a bad read on stuff, and if you're ignoring your rank, maybe you're having a bad read on a particular important team or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, but I think a lot of people would say just follow the statistics, and therein lies the truth.
Yeah.
But I think if my rank is going badly, then I need to change something I'm doing. Even if it means going against principles or something. The game is ranked. That's what we're trying to minimize here.
Yeah, fair points, man. Definitely. All right, mate. Well, let's take a look at how your game week 2 side played out and what a massive points you managed to pull together, which kicked you into this great overall rank. Let's take a look at your game week 2 performance. Okay, mate. So congratulations, a lovely 91 point haul there, and I'm going to go through sort of piecemeal here and get your thoughts around how your team's looking, not just in game week 2, but kind of how it's shaping up longer term. And then, guys, we'll move on to take a look at what Mark's plans are in terms of transfers ahead of game week 3, and we'll have a look at our stats review that I mentioned last week when we were on with Corey as well. We've now obviously got 2 data points as well. So I want to talk around the defence right now, Mark. You put a lot of money here into defence and into the goalkeeper here. It looks handsome returns this week, of course. Strategically, is this something that you think you'd be recommending for folks to be doing over the upcoming game weeks as well?
Um, I'm not sure I'd recommend doing anything. Not
Okay.
normally I might not invest so much in defense,
Hmm.
but what I was trying to do this preseason was like I had a number of check boxes I wanted to tick, and some of those were things like having captains in given weeks,
Yeah.
covering some teams' defenses, um, maybe getting specific players, and what comes out in the wash is the combination of these. I think the alternative I could have had there was to have maybe a better third striker or
Hmm.
more money in a midfielder such as Smith Rowe or Rogers. But I felt, in defense, I could get maybe two or three good players in at the cost of a better player up front. So I wanted to get Trent Alexander-Arnold at his price point so good. Paro, I think we all saw what he can do last season, and by all accounts, he was quite good pre-season. So I wanted to get him. And then I wanted to cover the Arsenal defense somehow. And in goal, I just didn't see any keeper that I thought made a compelling argument to be in there. And Raya, ticked two boxes. He was a decent goalkeeper, in my opinion, and he covered the Arsenal defense.
Yeah, love it.
And, 18 points in two games. I've been pretty fortunate there, but he has been pivotal in securing the result for Arsenal on both occasions.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it down to fortune. I think it's a great shout, man. He's looks like another great pickup. Definitely. Can I ask you around specific play and Gvardiol? Obviously, we were all kind of surprised, I guess. Man City conceded there. I guess he can concede to anywhere. Is he secure for you ongoing in at 6 million and the Man City defence there? Are you still thinking that's a wise investment for yourself and for other FPL managers who've also got him?
No, I wouldn't say he's definitely locked in the long term. I think when you're trying to deposit money around your squad, he was a safe place to put some money. Now, as it turned out, he got a return in the game. I didn't expect him to get one and didn't get one in the one I did. But I felt putting money into Guardiola, there was a level of safeness and guaranteed points returns
Yeah,
there. And I think as we move on, and maybe depending on when wildcards get played, and the Arsenal City fixture in game week 5, and maybe the desire to upgrade some players in midfield. Maybe you're thinking about Saka to Salah or something. Pulling money out of Guardiola is going to be certainly a consideration for me.
yeah, I see.
So I think he's a good place to put money for a little while at the start of the season.
Yeah.
But he could be downgraded quite easily now that we can get some pictures of who the good 4.5 million defenders are.
Yeah, no kidding. I think we should move on and have a look at your midfield and just go through them player by player, Mark. So, I mean, you've got a lot of money put into Saka there. Another nice return for him. He's been incredible, hasn't he, for over a season now? And Arsenal looked again impressive there. Obviously, a big chunk of change. Do you see him being a make weight for Salah ongoing, or do you think he's going to make a case to stay in your team for the long haul, as he did for many teams last season as well?
I think in principle, like people would think of him as somebody who can stay there for the long haul. Just,
Yeah,
the principle of Saka at 10 million that he regularly returns. But I think when you look at the fixtures that are coming up for Salah, um, if you do want to get him, and maybe it's a good idea, then something's got to give, and essentially it's Saka or Haaland. So I'll take a view on that probably around game week 4 or 5.
I see. Yeah, fair
Um,
enough.
I think if you're not captaining Salah, I don't think there's enough between Saka and Salah to make Salah worth it
About
when you
2.5
consider,
million. Yeah.
that 2.5 is the difference between Trent and a 4.5 million defender, obviously. So
Yeah.
I'll reevaluate it on an ongoing basis, but I wouldn't. There's no week when I'm upset to have Saka in my team, and that's even includes week 5. That's fine.
Yeah, I see. Let's move it on, mate. Nice pickup for Emil Smith Rowe. Obviously played just over an hour away at Old Trafford and then picked up this nice return in game week 2 as well, and a lovely price point as well. Surely he's going to be safe for this nice run of fixtures. Do you see this is kind of a no-brainer for other folks to be looking to include who didn't pick him up in game week 1? Would you be recommending that as a potential move, particularly for Nkunku owners potentially, who will also cover as part of this question?
Yeah, I think I've got two players there who are going to be quite popular tonight, probably
Yes.
on Sunday night.
Yes.
I think I don't think there's any reason not to pick up either of Smith Rowe or Rogers. And
We'll come
you
on
know
to
how
Rogers. Yeah, we'll come on to Rogers in a minute. Yeah.
I think Smith Rowe. I put him in my team when he moved, and I was looking at it, and it suddenly occurred to me that I knew nothing about Smith Rowe in terms of, statistics or how he really profiled, because all I really remember from him is that he had a lot of substitute appearances for Arsenal about
Yeah.
2 years ago, and he scored goals. But I didn't, and I had him in, and I had to go back and I had to look at it critically and see should he be in the team, and it turned out he should. And for Smith Rowe, all that really matters here is if he gets the minutes.
Hmm.
He's not getting a huge number, but he's getting enough and probably will get more. And I think Marco Silva is a really good manager. And we can all remember last season they went through a purple patch where maybe they got 2 games in a row, they got 5 goals.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And yeah, if Silva can coax the team into doing this again over the next few weeks, this won't be the last double figure haul that Smith Rowe gets.
You heard it here first, guys. Interesting. Let's look to adjacent position there and Nkunku there. Mark, what are we thinking here for folks who've picked him up in ahead of game week 1? Is it a move on immediately? Is it any
Yeah.
reason why you would stay the course? Got to be a move, right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, okay. First of all, I put my cards on the table. I didn't want to get Nkunku at the start, really. But the, the there wasn't another player that I really wanted to get. And it felt like there was huge potential there. That if he got the minutes, he would
Going to break the game, wasn't
score.
he? He was going to break the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think we all had Cole Palmer in our heads as well. And we were dreaming a dream, maybe. Um, and today, it's one thing that he doesn't start. It's another thing that they score 6 goals before he comes on. And it's even another thing that Neto and Felix come on before him. Like, it's not just that he was benched, it's how far down the order he was.
Yeah.
So I don't need this in my life. So he's gonna go. Um,
Okay, well, I'll hold that thought. Let's keep that as a spoiler for our next slide, Mark, when we come on and look ahead at your game week 3 bus team. We can talk around transfers there, but yeah, a movement out seems eminently sensible, doesn't it? How are you feeling about Diogo Jota next to him, Mark? Obviously, back-to-back returns. Liverpool look excellent, don't they? A really good start to the season for them. Great pick, good pick, sound pick. How are you feeling about Jota's inclusion in the team and the FPL merits for him?
Great pick, good pick, sound pick. I don't think he's a sound pick. I don't think he's a great pick. I think he's a good pick.
Okay.
And he'll be a good pick for as long as he's a good pick.
Mm.
And he's going to be one of these ones where get off him at the right time.
And that's
Um,
not now, right? You're saying stick with for the time being?
oh yeah, I think so. I mean, they've won 2 games 2-0. He's contributed to the goals in both.
Mm-hmm.
He could have got another goal in each game. He looks like someone who's doing what he's supposed to do in terms of the work rate. The Liverpool, I don't know what we call it now. Do we call them presses, counter presses? I don't know, but they're getting after the opposition when the
Yeah,
opposition has the ball. He's making tackles. He's an intelligent footballer, and he'll stay in my team while he stays in the Liverpool team. Really,
I see. And no qualms about the game at Old Trafford in game week 3. Looks like a fine fixture for him.
no qualms
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah, fair enough. You mentioned Rodgers as well, Mark. Looked good, didn't he, in that game against Arsenal? Lovely price as well. One to watch, you think?
Not just one to watch, one to get. I would say.
Okay.
Um, he's one of these guys like I never he joined when January and I never really paid attention to him last
Yeah,
season because he wasn't FPL concerned. And then again, you buy the potential at
yeah.
5 million. And you get Smith Rowe, you get Nkunku, Rogers, Joe Pedro, you're hoping 2 of them turn out okay and you deal with the rest of the junk. And it looks like Rogers is okay. I thought he was good yesterday. It's the
Me
first
too.
time I've really paid attention to him in a game. He's strong. He carries. He causes trouble, and I'm not sure why he'd lose his place right now.
Oh no, man. He takes people
And they've
on. It's
got good
quite a
fixtures.
it's quite a throwback, isn't it, Mark, to see someone willing to take on their defender and actually, succeed at it as well. It's
Yeah, he's
pretty
got that
pretty
power.
exciting. Yeah, he does. Yeah, I think
Yeah, and against Arsenal too. He did drive through a bit, so
yeah.
I think he's good.
And I
He's
think
good
you and
for
I
me.
talked in pre-season around game week 3 being a jump on Aston Villa potential opportunity anyway. So yeah, nice to have him in situ already. Look at the forwards
Yeah,
then Mark.
yeah.
We'll talk about Haaland quickly, just from a triple captaincy perspective. Did you entertain the chip ahead of game week 2, or is it something that you weren't particularly interested in?
No, it just wasn't on my mind. And
No.
then when it came to the four, for a lot of people, it was Friday. I know some people, I remember Craig of these parts
Yeah,
talking about it early in the week.
he
So,
did. Yeah.
it was an original thought for him. But I felt a lot of the momentum behind this was people just, oh, someone from Twitter or whatever started talking about this. I'm going to do it as well. It was, I don't mind. It was fine. Like, it's fine. They got 17 points. Good call. But I just, the first I kind of really considered it or not was on Friday. And I was like, look, I'd rather have it for the rest of the season and find something to do later. It's not a big deal. 17 points. I left 50 something points on my bench at the last game week of the season last year. I make about 10 points of mistakes every week. It's it's a junk chip.
It's a junk chip. I do wonder how often we're going to hear about those bench points, Mark. I think that's the counter.
Yeah,
The
no,
counter is at 3 now, so we'll see how
yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
it features for the rest of the season. There's a book going on it. I'll have to let you know what everyone's predictions
Obviously,
are.
obviously, I wouldn't say it was a junk chip if I had just got 17 points from
I
it.
was thinking that might be the case. All right, let's look at something that's not junk. Is João Pedro, right? I mean, he's got a lovely price. We obviously talked around him at pre-season. It was fixtures really that put some prospective owners off for the early part of the season. But he's making a mockery of this, right? Looks like a lovely third choice striker, right? And Brighton look good as well. You've got to be pretty comfortable with him as well, Mark, I would assume. Excuse me.
Yeah, this is really one where he's on a knife edge between him being a fire sale and now going into game week 4 after the Arsenal game. He could be a bandwagon, and that's FPL. He's probably getting a price drop if he doesn't not in the winner after 95 minutes.
Hmm.
And I had said to someone on text at halftime, he looks like a great player, but not a great FPL pick because he was playing a little bit deep.
He was, yeah.
But he's got this again. He can surge through from number 10, and then when he goes up front, he's going to get chances. 5.5 million. I don't think you can go too far wrong.
No. And do we think he's on penalties as well, Mark? Would you expect that to be the case for Brighton?
I'd be disappointed if they got one and he didn't take it.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. So
Really?
yeah, he seems like another good value player there as well. It's all around Isak as well. Obviously, a lot of interest in him with the captaincy on game week 1. Decent looking fixture in game week 2 as well. Still, a not insignificant amount of money being spent on him.
Yeah.
What have you made of Newcastle so far? Do you think it's not cause for concern yet, or do you think this is potentially something you'd be looking to change?
Yeah, I haven't seen either of their matches, and I haven't really looked into
Okay.
the statistics of either match. But he'd want to do something soon because Ollie Watkins is coming out up the outside very fast,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
And
Fair
he's
enough.
only 0.5 in the difference.
Yeah, I see. All right, mate. Let's congratulate you once more on game week 2. Lovely returns all over the shop, sitting nicely in 200k. So that's got to make you think, how am I going to continue this? So let's take a look at how your bus team's set up for game week 3 and talk around your prospective transfer plans. Okay, so this is how you're set up, Mark, right now ahead of game week 3. Obviously, guys, an awful lot can change. We're expecting it to as well. So this is with no changes or no transfers at all in mind. I'm sure, though, you'll be looking to make at least one, though, Mark, right? What are you thinking in terms of transfer plans, and what would you kind of be expecting your team to look like ahead of game week 3 if we don't get any injury news?
Yeah, this was my bus team at midday today. It's
Yeah.
not my bus team anymore
Okay.
because Nkunku has let everybody down who
He
owns him.
has. Yeah.
So the choice for me now is to move Nkunku immediately, thereby avoiding a price drop, possibly 2 price drops by the time I get around to selling him. Um, and leaving Joe Pedro on the bench against Arsenal, which I'm comfortable to do, I think. Um, so I think I will move Nkunku out in the very near future.
Yeah.
It's 20 past 9 on Sunday night, so I think we're talking about he's gone now. Um,
Go on
you're
then,
going to
mate. What are
ask.
we looking? What are
Yeah,
we looking
yeah.
at?
I
Yeah.
think anticipate the next question.
Hmm.
Um, I think for the majority of people Rogers and ESR are the way to go. I've 0.5 in the bank, and I think I'll look the other way, and I'll look towards Eze or Mbumo.
Hmm.
Um, I wish it was a week later and I knew if Ivan Toney was going to stay or not, because Mbumo on penalties is obviously appealing.
Mm.
So between Eze, I think I would have got Eze at the start of the season instead of Nkunku if I knew he wasn't going to move.
Right.
That's sort of where that 0.5 came from and how Nkunku came to be in the team. So I can go back to Eze, not go back to him, but I can get him. But I feel like that's a move where I'm pursuing everyone else because, Eze is well owned. I feel like the more progressive thing to do is get Mbumo, play him home to Southampton, then bench him at City and see where I go from there. I just like it as a nice high upside differential. And if Tony does go, and rumors today seem to suggest he will, because he's
Yeah.
agreed personal terms,
Yeah.
then I think Mbouma is going to be a mainstay of a lot of teams.
Yeah,
So
I
I'd
would
say
agree.
maybe the safer play is to get Eze, but maybe the one that appeals to me more from a differential perspective is Mbouma.
Yeah, I like and understand both choices, Mark, as well. I just wondered. You mentioned Chelsea's the goal haul today. Feels like they're an absolute basket case, doesn't it? That them as a club, selection, personnel, performance, everything else, right? Any interest at all at trying to find lightning in a bottle and pick anyone else as a sideways move for Nkunku to another Chelsea midfield option?
Uh,
It's an
no,
easy answer.
I like, it would be like, I think for people last week who did some people might have gone from Kwanzaa to Rico Lewis. Might be a sign that you haven't learned your lesson. So if you're talking about Madueke maybe for Nkunku, no, I don't think I'll do that.
No, no. I was expecting that answer, and I did wonder whether or not
Mm.
people watching maybe tempted to try and predict that one. I wouldn't be recommending that, and I'm not surprised that you haven't either as well. So is this the situation? You've got two frees. You're looking just to use one of them, then, Mark? That's the plan.
Yeah, I think there's League Cup fixtures midweek, but I think I can make this move and I'll still have a free transfer.
Yeah,
If the worst comes to the worst and something happens, I can play Joe Pedro instead of anyone in the front eight and Harwood Bellis instead of someone at the back.
yeah. I see.
So I'm inclined to make early transfers to preserve value early in the season.
Yeah, makes sense. Good strategic call there as well. Quick word on Barco just before we move on. I think a lot of folks watching, a lot of people in FPL at large would have picked him up at the beginning of the season. Price now locked, we believe, now that he's been loaned out as
Hmm.
well. Is he just going to be third choice there and forget about it? You're not going to be interested
Yep.
in trying to find any means by which to get that bench complement full? And that would be the advice ongoing as well to other managers in similar situation.
Yeah, I think he can just stay there. He's base price. He's not dropping. I think one of the changes with the rolling of transfers is you can let your wild card fix your problems. Um, you know, you there might have come a time before where you had a transfer to burn, so you'd fix Barco. That's going to be less likely to happen now. So even if you had a transfer to burn, you'd leave him there
Yeah,
because we don't need 14 players. We don't need 15 players.
no. Understood,
Um,
mate. Yeah, makes sense. Good shout. Guys, we're going to move on now and take a little look at the stats and how they are progressing now that we've got 2 game weeks worth of data in the can. So let's take a look at the stats ahead of game week 3. Okay, so I mentioned last week when we were on with Corey, guys, that we have these sort of stats that we're pulling out and we're going to update each and every game week. Obviously, still super early on in the season. Got expected goals there, and you can see that Erling Haaland's hat trick came as no surprise with the expected goals that he had for himself. We got FPL points, expected assists, shots on target as well. I'm not sure, Mark, whether or not stats are a massive part of how they influence your managerial style. Are they a huge factor that you include, or you're more of an eye test manager, or is it very much a combination of both for you?
um, yeah, there's a time and a place for all of these things.
Yeah,
So I wouldn't have looked at stats at this stage of the season because I haven't needed to make a transfer.
no,
So, and I'm not just whiling my hours away looking at stats for the sake of it.
no.
I'll have a little dig around tonight to see if there's some big difference between Mbumo and Eze, but I think Eze is going to have much better stats. But I've outlined the reasons that I might get Mbumo already.
Yeah.
Probably what I might pay a little bit more attention to at this early stage of the season is heat maps.
Okay.
So Fix have some very nice heat maps,
They do. Yeah.
and I, stats are after two games. Anyone who talks about stats in a pod at this stage of the season goes off on some long disclaimer about data points. But I think maybe you can see something in a heat map about position and
Yeah.
that can be really useful and tell you something. So maybe a player is playing predominantly in a certain position, hasn't taken any shots, hasn't created any chances, but they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're going to stay there, what could happen? But
Love
I
it.
think, you look at these stats, is there anything truly surprising here?
I wouldn't have thought so. I don't think there is. I was a bit intrigued to see just how many shots Muniz has picked up in the shots
Mm.
table there on the right hand side, and so a word for Semenyo as well. Friend of mine put him into their midfield selection at the beginning of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
season as well, and returned lovely little differential for the first two game weeks. But I wouldn't have thought so really at this stage, Mark. And I love that shout for the heat maps as well, guys. You can head over to fantasyfootballfix.com and you can take a look there, and you can do a side by side comparison of different players if you're interested in that. It's got the most regular sort of touch points as well, and it's a really powerful tool. So yeah, good shout, mate, definitely. And I just want to say congrats again, Mark. It's cool to see you kicking it already
Yeah,
again, and
thanks.
I'm sure
Thanks.
it's going to continue, mate, as it does with every passing season. You look a bit more indifferent about it, but I'm thinking
No, I'm
I'm
not
well
indifferent.
impressed.
I'm not indifferent. I'm just I'm stoic and somewhat pessimistic about the future.
Oh, and there's no reason to be either. I think with you, we saw your overall rank history as well, and the season. But yeah, whatever works for you, because it's clearly working again. So I'm going to stay close to your team, see how it works out, and see if I can pick up any tips. And guys, you can do exactly the same if you head over to fantasyfootballfix.com. You can, of course, get your push notifications enabled. You can follow the thoughts and the changes of all of our elite managers as they tinker with their teams ahead of game week 3. Mark, final thoughts? Anything you want to cover before we wrap things up?
No, I think we've covered it all. As I say, I think a lot of people have a decision to make on transfers this week.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't be afraid to make early transfers in a scenario like this. So I know some people do recommend against that, but I'd say, above all, just as people like to say, play your own game.
Yeah, I like it. And on that note, guys, we'll wrap it up. Play your own game, but do so after you have subscribed to fantasyfootballfix.com, both on YouTube and over at the main website, of course. And guys, I'll talk to you all next week after Game Week 3 is in the books. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.